what happens here at this moment, we have here, as we call it, a bouncing height sensor. And a bouncing height sensor, what it is actually doing, it's going up and down constantly. While it's moving or while it's physically just in a stationary position, I just basically have turned on the height sensor and this happens. One of the big things that can happen while you're doing this and will actually cause water to back up through your abrasive tube, which is normally located here, or getting no good cuts is a typical symptoms of the height sensor being too close to the material, or you have to calibrate your height sensor properly again, or just basically check the amount of slop that this height sensor brush has physically now in these bearings. And you can see this whole linear bearing is physically loose. Let me turn off the height sensor first and move it up a little bit. So you can actually see how loose this whole mechanism is. And that will actually cause these sensors here to get false readings and will actually start to act on these false readings, which will make it bounce up and down uncontrolled. So we need to take care of this amount of slop that is physically in the bearings right now. All what we need is physically get it nicely moving up and down in a nice straight line instead of wobbling up in a very unorganized manner. So what we need is actually, we need two tools. The tools that you got provided with your machine were actually the height sensor toolkit, as we call that. And that's a spanner wrench and a little Allen wrench. It's a screwdriver Allen wrench. These two tools got provided with your height sensor and with your machine. Basically what they do, this little spanner wrench has 4 little pins that go exactly in this screw. So as you can see, that matches up perfectly with this bearing here. And the other one goes right in the center of this. And all what we need to do is by loosening up first the set screw, which is basically your spanner wrench that holds the bearing in place, and then by turning the little Allen wrench, you can actually adjust your bearing, your concentric bearing that will push, as you can see now, or pull it away from it. If you look at very closely, you can see it's moving. So if I push that a little bit in direction like this, for example, and I lock it in place while I have my screwdriver still in the same position, it will actually now be a nice smooth motion again. So make sure that the beam is actually centered between these two proximity sensors, because if that is crooked in a way that it will happen when you have these two bearings here in the bottom not adjusted properly, it will actually get still the wrong readings and will not work properly. If I turn the height sensor on right now, it should be working fine and not bouncing anymore. There's no slop anymore, so it basically gets the correct readings from the proximity sensors and will work properly this way as well. Just like it should. And after that, put on the blue cover again and put all the screws back in place.